So we already know what to do to maximize profit in perfect competition. But the question is how to manage a business operating in such a market. In other words, what can be done or what should we do? How should we respond to some changes that happen? Because remember, when we say you as a single business on perfect competition market, you do not have influence on the price. It doesn't mean that this price is fixed. It is fixed. It is similar with fixed costs. We said, well, they don't have to be constant all the time. They don't have to be the same. They are fixed in the sense that whether you produce more or less, those costs will not change because of your production. So this is the same with the price when we consider perfect competition market. The price does not depend whether you sell or not, how much you sell, but the price may change. And there comes the question, why would it change and how can you respond to that? Why would it change? Have a look at the graph. The changes in the prices in perfect competition market, they always result from the market itself. So if, for instance, like in this graph here, you have decrease in supply, so less people want to sell euros for some reasons, then the exchange rate of euros would go up. And you will see it because your price will go up as well. So it's nothing that you could do, actually, but the price changed. And the question is, what can you do, what you should do when prices change in perfect competition market? Okay, let's have a look at this graph here. We are going to consider a number of price levels, and we are going to investigate what should be the response of a business if the price changes from one level to another. Let's start with a nice level. Nice level is this P1 level. This price is quite high. So it is nice for you as a producer to produce and sell for such a high price. For this price P1, you can certainly find your break-even points. They are here and there, right? The point of intersection between AC, average cost curve, and the price, right? Where those two intersect, the price is equal to average cost. Therefore, if you multiply both sides by Q, total revenue would be equal to total cost. And if you remember that profit pi was the difference between total revenue and total cost, well, they are equal to each other, so profit is zero, right? So these are your break-even points, QL and QU, lower and upper break-even point. How much you should produce? Well, we assume that under this price of P1, you want to maximize your profit. If this is correct, then you have to set your marginal cost at the level of P1. So you need to produce Q1, and this is your optimum production, right? If you produce Q1, then your marginal cost is equal to P1, the price that you have currently, and you maximize the profit. What changes if the price decreases? Let it decrease to the level of P2. For P2, you can see some changes in your break-even points. You can see that the point of intersection between this new price and average cost curve moved slightly to the right in case of QL and slightly to the left in case of QU. So break-even points, those levels of production that show you what is the range of your profitable production, they moved like this and like that. So this range of profitable production is smaller. So you should keep your production within this range, but where precisely? The answer is the same. You should produce the quantity that makes your marginal cost equal to the price. You've got the new price, however, P2, so you need to adjust your production. So you move to Q2 production, because for Q2, marginal cost will correspond with P2 price, right? So you again maximize your profit. Frankly speaking, this profit now would be smaller, but it is the biggest possible profit that you can have at P2. So if the price keeps on going down, you would see that those break-even points will come closer and closer to each other, making this a range of profitable production smaller and smaller and smaller. And there is a certain price, it's P3 in my graph, where those two break-even points, they actually merge, they actually meet and become just one point. So for such price, P3, your only response to this price is setting your production to Q3 level. And if you set this production at Q3 level, then you will have normal profit. You will have zero economic profit. You can operate your business, no problem. We already know that if economic profit is zero, then everything is fine. You can still own and operate this business. But you need to be very careful here, because if you produce something different than Q3, if you increase your production or if you decrease your production as compared to Q3, then you will certainly have economic loss. Because for all levels of production, AC curve is above the price. The only point at which average cost is not bigger than price is just Q3, right? So you've got no freedom here. You cannot maneuver here. It's just Q3, stick to that. This is the only chance for you not to have economic loss. What would happen if the price still goes down below P3? This is the case of P4. If you experience P4, then you are doomed for economic loss. Because as you look at P4, it is entirely below the AC curve. So there is no possibility for you to have economic profit. What should you do? Try to make your marginal cost equal to this price. So try to produce Q4. I know making marginal cost equal to the price was our recipe for profit maximization. Now you don't have any profit, so it might be doubtful why you should do so. But our recipe for profit maximization is very clever. It allows you to maximize your profit if making profit is possible. But if it's impossible, like for this P4 price, then this rule allows you to minimize your loss. So if you operate your business at P4, then this is the best thing you can do. Minimize your losses. You cannot have profit, but try to keep your losses as small as it is possible. Why would you operate your business at P4 where you have losses? P4 allows you to survive for some time. It doesn't allow you to have economic profit, but allows you to survive for some time. Why is that so? Well, if you produce Q4, then your situation is as follows. P4, the price, is smaller than average cost. Let's multiply both by Q. That would mean that your total revenues that you get are smaller than your total cost. And that's why you've got economic loss. But for Q4, this price is still bigger than average variable cost. P4 is bigger than average variable cost. If P4 is bigger than average variable cost, let's multiply this by Q, both sides. That means total revenues at this price, at P4, are bigger than variable costs, which means money from your sales allow you to cover all your variable costs. They simply do not allow you to cover all the fixed costs. In practice, that would mean you were supposed this month to renew your insurance against fire, but you don't have money to do that. Would you close down the business, or would you rather postpone paying for your insurance till next month? This week, you were supposed to pay money to your leasing company for the cars that you lease, and you don't have enough money this week. Will you shut down the business, or will you postpone the payment for later? You see, you can operate your business for some time, even if you cannot cover all fixed costs. It is possible. So over the short run, there is no need for you to shut down the business. Obviously, if P4 would stay permanently, then you cannot make your profit, and sooner or later you're going to give up. But if it is a temporary situation, don't worry, okay? You simply postpone some payments and you can still run your business. But what if the price goes down even more? Well, the crucial level would be P5. At P5, as you can see in my graph, your response would be Q5, which means if you produce precisely Q5, then your average variable cost is equal to the price. So your total revenue allows to cover all variable costs and does not allow to cover any fixed costs. And this is the crucial level, okay? This point here, this point for P5 is called short-run shutdown point. Short-run shutdown point, which means if the price goes down, is lower than P5, then you don't get enough money to cover your variable costs. So you do not have enough money to pay your people for production. You don't have enough money to buy materials, to pay for electricity. You need to shut down the business now. So these are the possible situations. These are the possible scenarios when prices change. Okay? Now I want you to have a look at the next graph and compare it with the previous one. All right, let me toggle those slides a little bit. And you certainly see that the graphs are very similar. To get this slide, I just eliminated the curves of costs, like average cost and average variable cost. And I also decided to cut off this little bit of marginal cost that is below the short-run shutdown point. Why? Because this marginal cost below that point is not very important. Not very important because below this short-run shutdown point, the business wouldn't operate. So you don't need this marginal cost because you are not going to use it. So what is left here is just this part of marginal cost that starts with this short-run shutdown point and gets bigger. Look at this marginal cost. This is, perhaps a bit surprisingly, our supply curve. This marginal cost curve actually tells you how much you would supply to the market depending on the price. So for bigger prices, you would supply more. For smaller prices, you would supply less. For the prices lower than P5, you would not supply at all. You remember when we discussed market supply, I told you market supply is very much connected to costs. It's related to costs very much, and especially one cost, I said then. All right, so this is the mystery solved now. This one cost is marginal cost. That's why I call it the king of all costs, right? Marginal cost creates the supply curve. Actually, the part of marginal cost curve is the supply curve. Explains why businesses produce and supply this or that quantity to market depending on the price. Now you know why. Because businesses want to maximize their profit, and for different levels of prices, the maximizing profit quantities are different. For each price level from P1 to P5, you get different quantity supplied, like Q1 to Q5, and they all correspond with their levels of prices in the search of maximum